All right, before I jump in and show you how it all works, let's quickly look at the product list of Let's Go Learn. So in terms of assessment, Dora is the reading assessment series, and is actually a Spanish version as well as a phonemic awareness standalone diagnostic. In terms of mathematics, for foundational mathematics, there's Adam as well as pre-algebra, DOMA pre-algebra, and then we also have an Algebra 1 assessment. And next, in terms of personalized learning, we have the LGL Edge series. And that will directly hook up to either the Dora reading assessment or the math assessments to provide a personalized course for each student. And finally, we have something called iLink, which allows us to connect free content to our system via our assessments. Now, right now, that hooks up to Khan Academy, but the plan is in the future to link to other free materials as well. Okay, let's jump into the system. And right now, here I am. I'm logged into a demo account, and this is our home page. Initially, we can have school news. We have lots of great resources over here on the left. But let me just jump in and show you how it looks. So let's take a look at the class tab. This is our students. This is our class. We see these are fifth graders. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the Dora tab. This is where it gets interesting, is when we look at data. This entire class has completed assessments, and we see the different subtests that we're talking about, right? We have granular subtests, high frequency words, word recognition, phonics, phonemic awareness, spelling, vocabulary, and comprehension. You click on the question mark on any of these and it brings up information on it. If I want to sort, let's say I wanted to work on spelling in my class, I could sort from high to low, or low to high, or high to low. Now these scores are also, you notice, are in grade levels, so that's very tangible, right? It's not some kind of RIT score or some scaled score that doesn't mean anything. These are actually grade level scores. So this student here is a fifth grader, has about a first grade spelling level. This other student is a mid-second grade spelling level. Let's take a look at something a little bit more tangible, though. Let's take a look at phonics. This is something most people do understand. If I sort it from low to high, we see 0.5 is a kindergarten level phonics, and we have a fourth grade, mid-fourth. Now, what does that mean? If I click on the question mark, I could see what these phonics scores stand for. That shows you the exact skill. So 0.5 is really beginning sounds. And we see 4.5 is diphthongs and multisyllabic syllables. But here's something that's really cool. I click on the magnifying glass, and now I see my class in the scope and sequence of teaching phonics. So these students down here have all mastered phonics, right? Mastery of this subtest, all these students here. I have one student, Franklin, who is working on beginning consonants, two students working on R control vowel, and these 5 students are working on multi-syllables. This is interesting. Notice these check boxes here. This is how I can create my flexible groups on a daily basis. I can actually check these 2 students, click the homework button, and I can make it an assignment for the student. Or I can go ahead and click over here, and all of these students are selected again. I can make a custom homework assignment for just those students. This is really helpful if you need to do scaffolding. You know on Friday you're working on multi-syllables, and you wanted to maybe just give these 2 students here, have them work on R controlled vowel, right? So this is where in the operationalized AI cycle, we said there's small group instruction. This is allowing us to work with small group. This is also allowing us to scaffold for the whole class, because when we know certain students are not at the whole class level, we can isolate them. Let's go back to this main page. Now, there's a lot to show you, so let me go ahead and jump in here. Let's take a look at an individual student's report. Gaston, I'll look at a summary report. Now here we see the student's report. We see it very clear. Within decoding, we have high frequency words, word recognition, phonics. The area of concern has an X on it, high frequency words. So this student is decoding words, has very good phonics, but his ability to do sight word recognition is low, 3.17. That's low for a 5th grader. But it turns out the vocabulary and comprehension is okay, right? This is a very good report to print out and share with students. This is what happens to a lot of our class deployments. The teachers print these out and share them with the students. Let's take a look at another student here, Lila, Lila. Let's look at the parent version. The parent version is really easy to understand. How Lila reads words. Okay, great. We set up, goals to continue using these strengths when encountering tricky words. And we have these bulleted points. How she understands words. But this is the one area of concern, putting it all together to make meaning, right? And we even down here have recommendations of what you could do. Right, so this is pretty amazing. This is really, really detailed for each student and also based on their grade level as well, because a student with the same profile who's a kindergartner is going to have different recommendations than somebody who's maybe in high school. Now, another really interesting thing is this display class profile button. If I click on this is another way for me to create groups. So if I look at my class, I can look at them in terms of instructional groups. The students who are low, low, low are in profile A. The student in profile C, for instance, is good in decoding, good in vocabulary, but just low in comprehension. So a certain type of curriculum may correspond to that. The student in G may be students who are just low in vocabulary. Okay, again, these correspond to different type of reading profiles, which you may want to target with different blended learning materials. Right? So again, we create these groups automatically for the teacher. If I click on one of them right here, click on C, I could see these are the students who fall in that category. And I even have a narrative that explains what it means to be a student with a profile C in reading, right? All right, so let me actually just quickly jump over. Our fully automated instruction is the EDGE series. So I could go over there and I can assign an individualized course for each student. But before I do that, I want to actually take a look at math assessment. So let's take a look at Adam. And obviously I'm going very fast. There's a lot to be covered, but what I really want you guys to understand is how it works and how easy it is to use. Okay, again, we talked about lowering the threshold for teachers. All right, mathematics. We talked originally about how in mathematics you see these big strand scores. General strand scores don't mean as much to me, so I'm going to actually click onto numbers and operations, which is one of the strands, and we're going to break it out. So from here, this is what's really interesting. On a daily basis, I might decide we're going to be working on multiplication, we're going to be working on fractions, we're working on decimal operations. So let's say, for instance, I wanted to work on division. Again, I could sort it from low to high, high to low. I can click on the magnifying glass, and now I see my students in division. These students have mastered all division of whole numbers. These 5 students are working on a very low level of division. These 3 students are working on we'll divide 4-digit numbers with no remainder, right? So again, we see exactly where the students are at, where they are within our scope and sequence. This is perfect for creating flexible groups on a daily basis. Now let me show you how we can actually do an assignment for these students. So I'll click here and I say homework. Now it pushes those 3 students into this homework assignment right here. We see these 3 students, and I can go ahead and say division 4-digit, and I give it a due date. Please do during personalized learning time. Okay, maybe we have a session where everyone breaks out their devices and they work on it. I can go ahead and select a Math Edge. That's one of our courses. I can select something from the Khan Academy or even a custom URL. So let's just try something from Khan Academy. Okay, so right here, I can go ahead and select something. Long division with remainders. I can drag that over. Okay, and now come down here. If I want to add more students, these are my classes. I can grab anyone from any of my classes. And now I hit save, and that assignment is saved. All right, so pretty easy. Now let's go back over to the Adam page. And I was on the numbers and operation. So a couple other things I could do. Now I want to take a look at the reports. So let's look at an individual student. Let's take a look at Gaston again. Let's just jump actually directly into their progress report. This progress report is pretty amazing. I could map multiple tests. Let's just view it. Now here we see that this student has lots of different scores, but right here the double arrow tells us the next skill to teach. So right here they've mastered all of numbers, place value. The student is working on decimal place value, so that's an instructional point. Let's take a look at fractions. Fractions, This student, it's red, meaning they're below grade level. They're working right here. Fractions, Gaston will compare fractions with the same denominator, right? That's actually a little bit low. That's a low second grade level. And after that, they're working on using manipulatives as part of a set, equivalent fractions, right? So we now see each one of these is the step by step by step by step that this student needs to work on in order to get up to mastery or get up to grade level, right? And it goes on. I mean, this is a 44 subtest assessment. Now, a short version of this is, let's look at the summary report. So this shows us, what we were just looking at. Fractions. So yeah, look at this. So Gaston is very low. First grade level, that's what the red skinny bar on top of the big bar is the student's ability. The big bar is the scope and sequence of skills. So within fractions, Gaston has mastered 1 out of 26 skills. And the grade level is actually represented by a little number within the bar. So this gives us a good overview of the student, where they need to work. So again, you print this out and you say, Gaston, what you really need to work on, you're doing great, you've mastered all these other areas. I want you to really focus on division and fractions, or maybe these 4 right here. And then I also want you to work on 2D shapes and 3D shapes. So this is a great way of bringing the student into the process, telling them right here as a high level what they should focus on, and then the other sheet is something that's going to give you more detail. Okay, so we have lots of great data. You see this, we have lots of super data. Okay, let me look at one other case where I think it's really fascinating in mathematics, is if we look at the standards. If I choose the standard tab, I can now choose a standard, a state standard, and I choose 4 NF2, and this talks about comparing 2 fractions with numerator and denominators, et cetera, and using some other skills as well. So now if we look at this, we see our class broken up by 3 relevant subtests. Fractions is the main one, and then we have number theory and multiplication, because this standard requires multiplication. So this first group are students who have foundational skills and need building. So the way you could use this is, if you're working on a pacing guide, you're supposed to be working on the standard, right, in your whole class instruction. What I would do is I would say, okay, these students are students that need a little extra work. We have 1 student who's ready to learn the standard, and we have 2 students who have already mastered it. So interestingly enough, this is a 4th grade standard, and this is a 5th grade class, but I have a lot of work to do. So actually, I'm not quite ready, but if I had to, I would sort it within this and say, okay, these students here need to work on some mathematics lessons, and these students over here need to work on some number theory. So I can go ahead and, again, target those students, and maybe I give them homework to work on some multiplication touch-up before on Friday I work on this standard in my pacing guide, right? Again, it makes it really easy to do this. I mean, I could flip through this, select any standard, I could select students, hit the homework button, and again, they get a custom assignment. Now, the other piece is personalized learning. When we looked at that, the diagram, right, the AI cycle, we had whole class, small group, and personalized learning. Personalized learning is handled by our Edge 2.0. So within this, let's take a look at an existing student. I click on Enroll, Edit. Let's take a look at Gaston, because we looked at his detailed report. I'm going to hit Edit right here. And now what we're looking at is, this is a 60 lesson course that was assigned to Gaston. All of these lessons were picked based on his assessment, and they're different for every single student. So every single student gets their own, it's like they're getting their own tutor. And look right here, this lesson ID, it says K, that's a grade level. So Gaston has 3 kindergarten lessons, and then he has 4 first grade level, a bunch of second grade level, and then a bunch of third grade level. So what's amazing about Edge, and the reason why it's so effective, is really, if you can get through these first, well, for Gaston it's quite a bit, but if you get through these first 27 lessons, you've raised them up from gaps at the kindergarten level all the way up to 3rd grade, right? And that's why we see amazing results with Edge. In a short period of time, students, go up really, really high in terms of their scores. Also, what it does is, if you plug the gaps, it makes the student much more effective in the classroom, right? Because now they're not going to get lost as often. So right here we see, but this is the log. So I see when he last played, how many times he played, for how many minutes, and the score. So it allows me to sort of monitor progress. And see, another way of looking at this is through the grade view. And then for here, I could see the lessons, Here's the kindergarten lessons that he was assigned. I can click on grade level 2, 1, 2, 3. Here's all the third grade lessons he was assigned. I could override these if I want to turn anything off or on. The blue is what we recommend based on assessment. But if I say, look, I know we worked on temperature in class and Gaston did well, I can go ahead and turn that off. So I just pulled that out of his lesson assignment. Now, these lessons are also assignable. So this is the automatic personalized learning assignment. But remember, I can assign edge lessons for homework. So if I know I'm about to work on something, we're about to work on a 5th grade area perimeter, and I know this is a foundational area perimeter, I might assign this one lesson to my entire class just to sort of get them ready for my Friday lesson that I'm going to be working on. Okay, so that's sort of it in a nutshell. I know it's a lot, but you see that whether it's whole class, whether it's small group, or whether it's personalized learning, we have a tool that allows the teacher to take it to the next level. We're allowing them to operationalize the AI cycle down to the classroom level as well as to the site level. Now, the other piece I haven't even got into is the data portal. We have a data portal which allows you to run amazing reports across all of these granular subtests. And that's going to be something that the data teams would use, or the grade level teachers, for evaluating what kind of focus they need to, what kind of PD do you need, and where we need to make adjustments more at the site level. Well, thank you very much.